you. Shouldn't you be getting ready?
I suppose. I mean, I'm not sweating it.
Isn't the wedding in 3 hours?
That's what they tell me.
Are you nervous?
Why would I be nervous?
That's what I've heard. Brides on their wedding day get nervous.
Well, I'm cool as a cucumber on ice.
Wow. Of course, if I was marrying Charles, I'd be happy too.
He's all right, I guess.
All right, he's an Adonis.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Well, I think he's handsome and kind and wonderful, and it doesn't hurt that he's got a great career.
You marry him then.
What's the matter?
Can I tell you a secret? I'm not going to marry Charles.
What? Who are you marrying then?
Nobody.
I think all the guests at the wedding are going to be surprised.
Oh, they'll get over it. Life's better with a few surprises anyways. I mean, that's the problems with most weddings nowadays. There's no drama. It's a done deal. Will you take this man? Will you take this woman? Everyone always says I do. What a snooze. I mean, at least this will give people something to talk about.
So you're going to say no?
I'm not cruel. I'm just not going.
How can you not go to your own wedding? Your name's on the program. There are 300 people coming.
Oh, yes, it will be very exciting. I was so happy my wedding was going to be well attended. You'll have to tell me all about it.
Mother's going to have a heart attack. Again. And what about Charles? He's mad about you.
He's mad about himself. Besides, he isn't that wonderful. I mean, he smells like cabbage.
He's Irish. They all smell like that.
Look, I'm fine about the wedding. It's the marriage I'm not keen on. Can you imagine me getting manacled? What am I going to do? Have a baby and get boring?
Yes.
Well, I'm not doing it. I've got an entire life to live and that doesn't include becoming Mrs. Boiled Cabbage and raising 50 red-haired babies.
Who said anything about 50? I thought you were just having one.
Once you start, they just keep coming.
Maybe you could have thought of this before you said yes to him.
Well, I changed my mind.
When?
30 seconds after I said yes.
Why didn't you take it back?
Oh, he was dancing around and everything, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. Besides, what was I going to say? Oh, whoops. I thought you meant if I wanted to marinate the chicken. I have a problem with my ears, that's all.
This is ridiculous.
Marriage is prison. Do you know any happily married women?
Mother?
It's all a facade. She's tortured.
She sings almost every day.
To mask the terrible disappointment she feels. I mean, think about it. Once you're married, that's it. No one buys you flowers and no one takes you out to dances and if a man wants to kiss you, you have to ask your husband for permission. Oh, no, sir. Not for me.
You can't just go around kissing people.
Well, too late, because that's what I have been doing. And let me tell you something. There are a number of good kissers out there, and well, I haven't found them all yet.
You have to go, Evelyn.
I'm so glad you see my point. I've already bought a train ticket.
To where?
New York City.
You can't go there by yourself.
Do you think they've got wolves patrolling the border or something? I mean, New York is the bee's knees.
So, what are you going to tell Charles? You're writing him a letter?
No. And this is where I need your help.
I'm not telling him for you.
Oh, I don't need you to tell him.
He's going to be crushed, you know.
I'm not a bad person, and I don't want to hurt his feelings. And that's why I'm going to do what any sensible girl would do in this situation. Fake my own death.
What?
It's the perfect way out. This way his feelings aren't hurt, and he gets a lot of sympathy from the other guests, and they could still use all the catering for the week.
You're not serious.
I am. It can't be that difficult. People do it all the time.
What people?
Oh, you don't know because you think they're dead. Look in the obituaries. I bet half of those are fakes.
Why don't you just tell him you don't want to marry him?
It's our wedding day. It's a little late for that. Now, the way I figure it, There are a couple of good ways to go about this. I've been working on a nice suicide note, and
Wait a minute. You don't think his fiancee's suicide on their wedding day won't hurt his feelings?
You haven't seen the note. It explains all that. I claim to have another husband in France.
What?
He's a count. We were married at 18, but I fled to America to be away from him because he's a monster. So I obviously can't marry Charles because, well, I'm already married. See? It's not his fault I'm killing myself.
This story is full of holes.
It checks out. We were in France on vacation 2 years ago, and I could have slipped away easily for an hour or two, met a count, and gotten secretly married all while everyone else was asleep. You just need to say that I mentioned it at the time.
And I did say.
Oh, you were keeping my secrets like a good sister.
Evelyn!
Come on, this is what sisters do. We stand up for each other. And we also help each other stage suicides.
What are you going to do about a body?
I'm so glad you asked. So here's my plan. You say I jumped off the cliff and my body was washed out to sea.
You wrote a suicide note, then walked to the cliff, jumped into the water, and I watched the entire time.
Well, I imagine you ran to try to stop me once you discovered my heartbreaking letter.
I'm not doing this.
Oh, you have to work up a good cry for this.
I'm not an actress.
I tried to stop her. And she was so beautiful when she did it. She said, "Don't cry." And I said, "Stop! Stop!" This is where you break down a little bit, like you can't continue because what happened was so heartbreakingly terrible and awful at the same time. I couldn't stop her. She plunged into the icy water, hardly even made a splash. The currents must have carried her body out to sea where we'll never find her. Huh. Good thing we have this food for a wake.
That's what you want me to say.
What?
You want me to go in front of 100 people, break down into sobs, and lie about how your body was washed out to sea.
It's perfect. And then read my note. Please, Jenny. We're sisters. We do things for each other. I love you, please. Please. I would do this for you. Oh, we can let Mother and Father know after. They'll be so happy. Just imagine the scene. I have something to tell you. Evelyn? Evelyn's alive. She's alive. They leap up and down, and Mother is crying tears of joy, and Father is thanking God for this happiness. You don't want to deny them that, do you? One little fib, Jenny. That's all it is. Evelyn was washed out to sea and she's dead. The wedding's off. Let's try the cake. That's it.
Fine.
You'll do it?
I said fine, didn't I?
You are absolutely Jake.
Fine. I'll help you fake your death to get out of a wedding.
Yes. Make it beautiful. I want to have a glorious death.
I'll make certain of it.
Let's practice. You have to try these things out a few times or else, well, no one's going to believe you.
No one's going to believe me anyway.
It's romantic. It's perfect for a wedding. Tell you what, if you'd like, you can marry Charles after.
I'm 16 and he doesn't fancy me.
Oh, he'll be so distraught after my death, and he's likely to go for anything in a dress.
That makes me feel tremendous. Thank you. All right, let me read this nonsense.
Hey, I spent a lot of time in that suicide note, so I'd appreciate it if you took my death seriously.
Dear family and my beloved Charles, how can you call him your beloved when you're leaving him at the altar?
I don't want him to feel badly about me. Besides, you can't just launch into the letter. You have to introduce it. Now tell the story of my tragic death.
Must I?
Yes.
Fine.
Cry first. nice. Very good. Could you get more of a choking sob in there, like you can't breathe because the grief is so immense? All right, get on with it. People are beginning to wonder.
My dear friends and family, my sister Evelyn can't be here today because she tumbled from a cliff to her doom.
Oh, I like that. Doom, tumbled. Oh no, that's evocative. Puts a nice picture in their minds.
I saw her fall. She had dressed herself in a burlap sack. Her hair, she must have rubbed cow manure on it. I'd never seen it like
that.
that.
Mention how pretty I looked, if possible, and it's sadder that way. I don't want everyone to think I was crazy. Oh no, that's not really the image I had in mind.
She had a crazed look in her eyes, if she was fearful and insane. I thought she might hit the water, but she hit the cliffside instead, which sent her cartwheeling to the abyss, spraying blood. I still had hopes of finding her, but at that moment, a shark leapt from the churning waters below and snapped her in half. She was still screaming at this point, mostly about how she just lost her 2 legs and was very, very sorry for missing the wedding and putting you nice people out. So she is dead. Good riddance, I say.
If I can offer some commentary on that,
I'm grieving. She was a dear sister and had gotten plump recently, so I'm sure she provided that predator with a good meal. She always loved nature. She left a note. I will read it. Dear friends and family, and especially Charles, I'll add that she spelled the word especially wrong.
I did not.
By now you've learned of my tragic and beautiful death. I am terribly sorry I cannot be present to explain the reason for my suicide, but this must suffice. First, dear Charles, I am not who you believed I was. I'm married already to a French peasant named Guillaume.
I believe it says Count.
I'm altering it for believability. Guillaume and I met in a public restroom in Paris.
What?
He was a humble plumber, but his rough hands were magic and we fell in love in several minutes. I was attracted to him despite his awful smell and missing teeth. I knew that my parents would never approve as he was 50 years my senior and had only 1 foot. So I kept our love secret. And even though he couldn't speak and could only communicate in grunts and whistles, it was the happiest few hours of my life.
Would you stop?
Goodbye, cruel world, where the love between a hunchback, illiterate, grunting French peasant and a clever American girl cannot be celebrated. I shall remember you all fondly. I leave all my clothes and worldly possessions to my younger sister Virginia, who has always been a light for me in difficult times. And then she's made a series of obscene drawings, which I cannot show you.
You're ruining my death.
You're not dead.
I'll read it the right way.
Too bad. You can't say anything about it. Maybe you should come to your own wedding and read your suicide note yourself.
Oh, maybe I will. Very clever, Ginny. Oh, very clever, but that is not going to happen. Oh no, I am not going to show up at my wedding to explain my death. Oh no, that is not going to happen.
That's your choice. After I read the letter, though, I think Charles is going to be breathing a big sigh of relief. Dodged a bullet, as they say? It's a very revealing letter. Heaps of terrible secrets you kept hidden.
It's not going to work.
Fine.
Fine.
So you're still going to go?
Oh, 100%. But first, let's plan my funeral. I'm hoping for a big crowd.